Happy Independence Day, everyone, and welcome to Greg Kelly Reports. I'm Lidia Curanaj.
And I'm Michael Grimm. Happy Independence Day, everyone. America has always been a strong, beautiful country where Americans are proud of our country, and everything that it represents, everything it embodies, a nation where we're afforded opportunity no matter where you came from, what religion you believe in, or what level of education you may have. America is truly the greatest country in the world, and I believe that enough to give my life to defend it. But how did we get to where we are today? A place where 20 years ago, the amount of people who were proud of this country dropped 20% in the last 20 years? Maybe part of the reason is because the President of the United States and his entire administration talks like this.
According to the intelligence community, terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today.
One of the greatest threats to our national security is domestic terrorism manifested by white supremacists.
The most prominent threat is the threat of white supremacists.
I will say that a majority of the domestic terrorism cases that we've investigated are motivated by some version of what you might call white supremacists.
Ah, yes, good old white supremacy, not their failed economic policies, their soft on crime policies, or Biden's weakness on the world stage. Of course, it's white supremacy. But let me ask you this. How many white supremacists have you heard about being arrested lately? Maybe pride in being an American is so low because the leftist politicians, aided and abetted by the left-wing media, is constantly brainwashing Americans into thinking that America is racist, inherently racist. Our own elected officials are unable to hide their disdain for this great country, the same country that gave them such amazing opportunities. Take a listen to Congresswoman Cori Bush and what she tweeted out earlier today. The Declaration of Independence was written by enslavers and didn't recognize Black people as human. Today is a great day to demand reparations now. Wow. Reparations, I think, is now the new student loan debt cancellation, a pathetic promise the Democrats know will never happen. But sadly, there are millions of Americans who believe the Democrats' lies. Anything that goes against the Democrats' ideologies or their bank accounts must be destroyed.
These are the types of rulings that signal a dangerous creep towards authoritarianism and centralization of power in the court. I believe that we should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. We must pass much more binding and stringent ethics guidelines where we see members of the Supreme Court potentially breaking the law, as we saw in the refusal, with Clarence Thomas to recuse himself from cases implicating his wife in January 6th. There also must be impeachment on the table. We have a broad level of tools to deal with misconduct, overreach, and abuse of power.
It's comments like this that undermine the greatness of America. Americans have lost confidence in their leaders and actually in our way of life. In a new Gallup poll, America went from having the most confidence in our country than any other country in the G7 to the lowest confidence rate, at just 31% of Americans confident in our own country. That's a problem. If we don't respect or believe in our country, how can we expect people to join our military or defend our freedoms? You know what the bottom line is? We can't. Listen, I'm a proud United States Marine. I'm a combat veteran. But what I'm seeing in our military is concerning. We've taken our eye off the prize, and it shows. We've become too focused on virtue signals rather than strengthening our ranks and be combat ready.
Racial identity is something that I struggle with my entire life.
The coolest thing I did on board was to be able to participate in a LGBTQ spoken word night.
I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
As a military veteran and proud transgender woman,
this is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems. It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms.
I don't understand why they're so obsessed with this trans stuff. I mean, it's clearly showing in the United States regarding the military. They can't even recruit anyone anymore. The Wall Street Journal reporting the U.S. Army in 2022 had its toughest recruiting year since the advent of the all-volunteer military in 1973 and missed its goal by 25%. Only 9% of young people ages 16 to 21 said last year they would even consider military service. And rather than instill pride in our country, say boost morale for young people, the Department of Defense is instead catering to the trans agenda. Forget about catering. I mean, glorifying it, bragging about it. Take a look at this person right here. The U.S. Army published a profile piece on Rachel Jones. That's the person you see right there, writing how transitioning from a man to a woman saved his life. Take a listen.
I'm Major Rachel Jones, and what pride means to me is celebrating that diversity is our strength as a nation and as an army.
Unbelievable. The Biden administration fully embracing the trans agenda by inviting trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney to the White House and advocating for the chemical castration and mutilation of children.
I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I'll always have your back as your president so you can be yourself and reach your God-given potential.
Perhaps if Joe's 7th grandchild, Navy, came out as trans, then Joe would actually finally meet her and acknowledge her. And of course, a Biden speech wouldn't be complete without demonizing MAGA Republicans.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. There's a Republican Party and there's the MAGA Republicans. Our MAGA Republicans in Congress are threatening to do all this progress. Look, I don't want to hear from the MAGA Republicans.
I just sometimes can't even listen to them. But the Democrats are enacting policies that hurt the United States, that squander our prosperity, and dramatically reduce our standing on the world stage. Those are facts. We need to be ready for 2024, to take back the White House, and more importantly, to take back our country. We need someone in office who wants America to win, to strengthen our military, close our borders, and protect our cities from a surge of crime that's completely out of control. But what's the path forward? I mean, Joe Biden certainly can't be that path forward.
I was just thanking, anyway, I started off without you. And I sold a lot of state secrets and a lot of very important things that we shared.
You know, Joe Biden is not for America. He's the opposite. The president's inability to lead is on full display, and the left is starting to panic. They know he's unfit to serve now, let alone run for re-election.